Hi, Mary here from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to our weekly live chat. I have my camera a little further away than normal so you can see all the goodness behind me here. I'm a couple seconds early, but that's okay. Welcome to my weekly live chat. I was not able to go live last Thursday, but I do try to go live every Thursday here at 5 p.m. Central Time. That is 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern. For those of you just joining me, welcome. And for those of you that join me weekly, welcome back. Hey, Married with Chickens is here. If you have any questions while I'm chatting, please feel free to comment below. If I miss your question, I will try to come back to it. Please remember that it's just one person, just me here, trying to answer your questions. So if I miss it, I will come back after the live chat and I will answer it. So today we're talking about expanding our gardens. Now, I'm a little itchy here. We have some skeeters all over the place. So before I get started, for each of my live videos, I like to share what's new. Ooh, it's fuzzy. You know what? Give me a second, guys. Let me see. Is it fuzzy for any of you here watching me? Please let me know. If it's still fuzzy, let me know. There we go. Hi. Is it still fuzzy? Can you see me a little better now? I'm further away than my normal garden, so I may not be able to do too many live videos here in this garden. The reason being is I'm trying to expand our gardens here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, but I'm also trying to share different types of garden settings and help you, my customers, viewers, friends, followers. I want to help you grow the best garden possible. And sometimes that means expanding my gardens for your benefit, and obviously for my benefit because I get to eat some. For those of you watching, is it still fuzzy? Is it clear? Just let me know, and also comment below if you've got any questions. Please hit that thumbs up video for thumbs up icon for our video, and subscribe if you haven't already. So first I want to go through some of the updates here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. Lots has been going on. We are celebrating 11 years at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So at marysheirloomseeds.com, we do have a special through May 15th, that's Sunday. We have 11 seeds in a group for only $11. So super awesome deal there. We recently added two, not one, but two. If you aren't following us on different social media like Facebook and Instagram, you didn't get to see this amazingly cute, like heart exploding pictures of these brand new teeny tiny kittens that we rescued. They were 10-day-old bottle babies where their mama passed away. So that's been keeping me busy. I'm currently spending 12 to 14 hours a day in our seed room, and then also bottle feeding teeny tiny babies and expanding my garden, which is pretty awesome. I have to say, I am feeling kind of Superwoman-esque lately. I'm tired, but it's awesome. So we have a seed sale. We've got kittens. We've got updates here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. It is still the spring rush, so we are still working very hard to get your orders out. So what are we doing today? We are expanding our garden. Today we're specifically expanding our garden in a shady area. Now, way back there, you see sun, and that will be where another raised bed is. You can see over there, we've got raised beds and two behind me here. The reason I'm doing raised beds is we've got this awesome red Texas clay here, and it's a little difficult to grow in. So I'm trying to do my best to grow now with what I have and what I can work with. So what can I grow in a shaded area or a semi-shaded area? Now, this is called semi-shaded or dappled light as far as garden lingo goes. This isn't completely shaded all the time. This gets several hours worth of sunlight, just not late in the day. This is 5 o'clock here, right? So it gets morning sun, it gets a little bit of afternoon sun, and then that far back area gets a little evening sun. In the fall, when all these trees overhead, you can see there's a little bit of sunlight. That's called dappled light, where it does come through, but not completely. When the fall hits and some of these trees don't have as much foliage, this will be a little less shaded and it won't be so hot, so it'll be a fantastic place for fall crops that need some cool weather. So what can you grow in a semi-shaded area? Before I get to that, I want to just encourage you. If you're struggling with time and stress and anxiety, or what do you call it? I forget what we call it, where you just can't decide on what to grow. It's totally okay. Expanding your garden can be a little stressful. It can be a lot of work. It has been a lot of work to expand our gardens. The first one here that I added on our property was 1,500 square feet of garden space. It's now about 3,000 square feet of garden space just for that one garden. And there are several gardens on our property. It takes a lot of work. So, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So we are now expanding into a semi-shaded area so I can show you what you can grow in a shaded area. Now, typically, you're not gonna wanna plant things like tomatoes or root crops like turnips or beets, something like carrots that need more sun and more warmth. But this is a perfect place for lettuce, Swiss chard, leafy greens that do really well, and not necessarily things that don't necessarily do well in 100-degree heat in Texas in the sun, right? So for those of you that aren't in Texas, that's okay. This can still apply to you because we're still talking about expanding our gardens. Now on our social media pages, we've got a couple different posts we've made recently, and I want to add that all together and add it in an email. For those of you just joining me, if you've got any questions, you're more than welcome to ask while I'm live here. I do try to keep my lives somewhat short and sweet because, you know, we're busy. It's springtime. We're expanding our gardens, and I don't necessarily have an hour. You may not have an hour to sit here and chat with me because we got to get stuff done and stuff planted. So a lot of the things that we can grow in the semi-shaded area are going to be more cool weather crops. So for those of you that maybe it's still cooler where you are and you're just getting started planting, this might be a great option for you. If you have a semi-shaded area, you're not sure what to plant, I'm going to share with you some of the things you can. So leafy vegetables like greens are the most shade tolerant. Let me scoot closer. My camera's trying to zoom in and out, so maybe this will help. Leafy vegetables. Swiss chard is probably my favorite. These are not leafy vegetables, but some of those are. Root crops and fruit crops don't necessarily do as well in shaded areas. But squash also is more of a warm weather and a sunny crop. So they may or may not do that well here. In the far corner, I did plant some squash because I want to see how it does. Some of this garden area is going to be a completely experimental, so that at the end of the season, I can say, hey, this did great, or this really didn't do well at all. So I can help you grow a better garden. So what can I grow here that are semi-shade tolerant or dappled light crops that are going to thrive here in this area? So we have lettuce, we have spinach, we have Swiss chard, already mentioned, but definitely deserves another mention. I'm hoping my camera doesn't fall over here. It's a little windy. Welcome to East Texas. It is pretty windy here. Let's see, endive, broccoli. Broccoli is one. If I wanted to grow something that doesn't do well in the heat, broccoli is definitely one of those. And maybe I want something that's going to be able to be harvested quickly. The early purple sprouting broccoli is 2 thumbs up, fan-freaking-tastic. I think I included it in that our 11 for 11. So I mentioned earlier, It is our 11-year anniversary here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. 11 years of awesomeness, sharing helpful information. Some of our customers have been with us for 11 years, which is pretty awesome. And the early purple sprouting broccoli is a great one because it doesn't grow a massive head. It's just broccoli sprouts, like florets, and they're purple. And I think I included that in our 11 for 11. And that is 11 seed packs for only $11. And that expires on May 15th. So if you got that, check it out. It's on our homepage at marysheirloomseeds.com. So that would be a really good one to plant here in our semi-shaded area. Let's see, we've got kale, again, leafy crop. We've got radicchio, leafy crop. We have cabbage. That is a cool weather crop. I'm going to plant some extra dwarf pak choi here in this garden bed on the far end, and some in this bed here. And hopefully I'll have a harvest in about 35 days. So that would be kind of a big bang for my buck as far as planting in the shade, so I get something faster maturing. Another one is going to be turnips if you want the greens. Surprisingly enough, there are people out there that didn't know that there's a lot of root crops that you can eat the greens. Radish, for example. I don't eat the radish greens raw, personal preference. They're a little prickly for me. So I chop them up in pieces and I throw them in a stew. I throw them in a mix up like of veggies and some meat, just kind of, I wouldn't call it a stir fry because I'm kind of a lazy cook sometimes. What am I saying? I wouldn't call myself a lazy cook. I'm an exhausted cook. So sometimes at the end of the day, you've already been working on the farm, or maybe you've been working on your job, and then you go out to the garden. And so at the end of the day, you're a little tired. So you just kind of throw everything together, and it's always delicious, but you know, it's not this fancy, fantastic looking meal, but it's delicious and nutritious, and that's important. And then mustard greens as well. So back to the double duty crops I was telling you about, things you can eat. Radish greens, turnip greens, beet greens. You can eat all of that amazingness in the root and the leaves. So if you don't necessarily want to eat beets, not everybody likes beets, you can always grow them just with the greens here in a semi-shaded area. The roots themselves will take a lot longer to mature in a shaded garden. It's a very common question I get about, what do I plant in a semi-shaded area? Or, hey, I've got this corner of my garden that doesn't get full sun. What do I plant? So now you have some ideas on what you're going to plant. Now I mentioned this sunny area here behind me. That gets a lot more sun, and you may or may not be able to see it, but there are some fencing right there. That is one of the property lines here that we share a fence. What can I grow on a fence to be able to expand my garden? So remember, today we're talking about expanding your gardens. What are ways that you can expand your garden? Sometimes in the same area you already have, in this case, growing up. So if you are limited in ground space, there are ways you can expand your garden by growing up. And that would be planting things like pole beans instead of bush beans. That would be like planting cucumbers, because all of the cucumbers, if off the top of my head, all the cucumber varieties we carry are vining. I think I included a white wonder cucumber in our 11 for 11. You can plant things like loofah, peas. Peas are amazing. They love to grow on vines. They are a little more of a cool weather crop, mostly like the garden peas and things like that. So those are going to be something you want to grow on a vine, and you're growing up, remember. What else can you grow on a vine? Pumpkins. I don't know if I mentioned it, but loofah, which is a super popular one. So all of these things you can use to grow up to expand your garden if you are limited in ground space. Now, what about if you have this garden space, but you want to expand anyway? Well, you can grow in buckets. You can grow in raised beds. In my opinion, I am able to plant more in a small space by using a square foot garden method or a raised bed garden. Now, I've never used metal raised beds before, and being that this is the Texas heat, it's over 90 degrees right now. It is May 12th, and it's over 90 degrees, so it's hot. So I'm not sure how these would do in full sun, but again, I'm trying to test out some different methods to help you grow a better garden. So this is kind of a test plot in multiple ways here. What are other ways that we talked about for growing more in the same space or expanding your garden? We talked about raised beds. We talked about, a bucket garden. So maybe you don't have a ton of money to drop on wooden raised beds or metal raised beds or different fancy pants. I'm not a big fancy pants garden person. My husband wanted a little more of a pretty garden, he said, this year. So I am making my best attempt at making it pretty. I'm more of a utilitarian gardener. I like function. If it's not pretty, totally fine with me. But ways that you can make and expand your garden would be buckets. You can buy food grade buckets. You can find recycled buckets if you find a bakery, a donut shop, a deli, or you go to the bakery section at your local grocery store, or most hardware stores will have food grade buckets. Growing in buckets has been one of the most economical ways that I have found to grow. If you aren't, one, if you're not able to grow in ground, or two, you just want to expand the area you already have, and you've got maybe clay soil or sandy soil or just not healthy soil, and it takes a lot of time to build up healthy soil. So adding buckets is a great way to get started and grow something right now without having to spend several years on building up a compost to help improve the soil. Now we are adding compost and we are building our compost for our soil, but again, that takes time. So all of the things that I mentioned are ways to expand your garden. If you have any questions, you could always send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. In the description section of this video, you will find, completely forgot to mention, you will find our comprehensive planting guide. You will find links to several videos that we've already made. You're also going to find a link to, like I said, marysheirloomseeds.com if you're looking for awesome seeds. My email, if you have questions, maybe you missed some of the video, or maybe you're not sure, hey Mary, I'm not in Texas, I'm in Nevada, or hey, I'm in Georgia, I'm in Kentucky. What can I grow in my area? What can I grow in a different types of area? And I'm always happy to help you. I will probably direct you to our comprehensive planting guide, which is also in the description section of this video. All right, that's about it for me. I've shared with you some really simple, easy ways that you can expand your garden. I have garden tools calling my name right now. I've got several raised beds to fill here this evening. I'm gonna put a hat on to save me from this sun. You don't see it here because I'm sitting in the shade, but once I move out into the sun, it is really hot. So I've got some work to do today. I appreciate that you joined me tonight for my live video, or that you're watching our replay. I will try to be live again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And if you've got any questions that you would like me to address in our next video, you can always send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I am happy to help. Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and happy planting.